Dude, check out my sick Spider-Man clip. Huh? Pretty cool, right?
I mean, I guess. We haven't uploaded in almost 4 months.
Yeah, I know. But video's so hard to come up with, you know? What can I make a video of?
Chicken truck.
Marvel Rivals, without exaggeration, is one of the best hero shooters I have ever played. I've had my share of Overwatch matches and dabbled a bit in Apex Legends and TF2, but I've never really got hooked on those games, the same way I've had with Marvel Rivals. But why is that? Is it because Marvel Rivals has Spider-Man? Literally the greatest fucking superhero in fiction? Well, yes, but that's not the point. What really captivated me about this game is the character designs, both from an art style and gameplay standpoint. It retains the essence of the characters while adding something fresh to fit the hero shooter genre. For some of these characters, it is honestly the best they've ever looked. Take Psylocke, for example. They incorporated a butterfly motif throughout most of her design, from her powers to her scarf and even her sword. And then there's Spider-Man, whose skill expression in this game is incredible for a hero shooter. From his web swings to his combos, it honestly feels like they just lifted him straight out of Insomniac's Spider-Man. But after pouring over 300 plus hours into this game, the internet brainwash started to take over, and I had to ask myself, what other super cool IP would I want to see in Marvel Rivals? And being the autistic man that I am, there can only be one logical answer.
Sonic!
Just like in the Sonic and Fortnite video I made a while back, this video will primarily serve as a way for me to showcase and sketch out concepts of what the Sonic cast might look like in Marvel Rivals, as well as brainstorming ideas for their gameplay styles, abilities, and how well they would translate inside the game. Oh yeah, I didn't explain how Marvel Rivals works now, did I? In the game, you have 3 character archetypes: a duelist, a vanguard, and a strategist. But don't let their fancy wording confuse you, okay? They basically serve the same roles as your DPS, your tank, and your healer in other hero shooters. But for those who are still unsure of what any of those terms mean, the duelist is your main damage dealer, capable of inflicting heavy damage in a short amount of time to secure kills for their team. Meanwhile, vanguards literally act as tanks, soaking up damage and protecting the team so the DPSs can keep pushing forward. And the strategist focuses on supporting the team by healing, providing buffs, or even debuffs to the enemy and give their team an edge in battle. And I think Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails would fit each of those roles respectively. And to show off my ideas, I think the best character to start off with is the man himself, Sonic the Hedgehog. To convert Sonic into the Marvel Rivals art style, we need to analyze the key design elements that make up that style. The 3 main features I've noticed are exaggerated proportions and details to emphasize certain traits of the character, like for example making Iron Man's arc reactor much bigger, a painting-like rendering style, and white, red, and blue highlights alongside the side of characters which act like chromatic aberration. Now that we have all the necessary information, we can move on to designing Sonic in this style. When redesigning Sonic, I knew his look was too iconic, so at first I didn't want to make too many changes. But after some time drawing it, I wasn't completely satisfied with the initial design, so I decided to start fresh. I realized that Marvel Rivals tends to add more realistic details to his characters, so I reworked Sonic with that in mind. I changed his socks to resemble leg warmers, which are often associated with exercise and fitness, and I made him slightly lankier to give him a more athletic and runner's physique. The more significant change I made was to his shoes. I gave them a more hiking/runner inspired look, while making it pretty big to emphasize that he uses them to run, while incorporating some of his details from his movie shoes. Speaking of the movies, this design also draws some inspiration from them, like adding more detailed seams to his gloves and making his quills more pronounced. I also threw in some red straps on his gloves for an extra touch of flair. That's the final look for how I think Sonic could be adapted in the Rivals art style.
It doesn't matter where I am, I'll always be the fastest thing alive!
Sonic is the fastest thing alive, so it makes sense that he'd have the highest ground speed among any duelists. With 250 HP, being a 5-star difficulty character, he combines both damage and mobility in his attacks. Just like in his games, Sonic builds up momentum, so the longer he runs, the faster he gets. This is tracked by a speed gauge in the center of the screen, similar to how many other characters have their own gauges. This momentum ties directly into his primary attack, the Spin Dash. Sonic throws into a ball, dealing damage upon contact. The faster he moves, the more damage the Spin Dash does. However, using the Spin Dash drains the speed gauge, and if it reaches 0, Sonic will revert to a slower base speed and can no longer Spin Dash. Sonic also has a normal melee attack, which would be a breakdancing kick, which doesn't use any cooldowns, but it doesn't do much damage either. Sonic has 5 abilities. The homing attack. This ability targets the nearest enemy within 15 meters with a reticle, kinda like Iron Fist, and Sonic spins into them, dealing damage upon impact. Just like in the games, this ability can be chained into multiple enemies. It has up to 3 charges, each taking 5 seconds to recharge after use. Next up is the Quick Step. This allows Sonic to dodge and grants him invincibility frames for half a second. It has 2 charges, each taking 5 seconds to recharge. Sonic can also perform a double jump, giving him extra vertical mobility. Sonic can also run along walls and jump off them, but only vertically. Finally, Sonic's ultimate ability is called Lightspeed Assault. When activated, Sonic yells,
Now we're gonna have fun!
and slows down time for nearby enemies while entering a power boost state that lasts for 12 seconds. During this time, his Spin Dash is replaced by a more powerful boost attack, dealing large amounts of damage, and all of Sonic's other attacks are also enhanced. A Sonic player would adopt a hit-and-run type of playstyle, constantly keeping the enemy guessing about his next move. Sonic would focus on baiting out cooldowns and capitalizing on mistakes, all while having the ability to escape quickly when needed. In many ways, he would play more like a more grounded version of Spider-Man, using speed and mobility to outmaneuver his opponents and create opportunities for his team. Speaking of which, here are some unique interactions and bits of dialogue I think Sonic would have with some of the Marvel Rivals' roster.
Not bad, Spidey. But you ever gonna try going fast without the training wheels? Okay, your royal sogginess, I get it. You own the ocean. Can I dry off now? Speed kills, Frankie. But at least I don't need a body count to prove it. Wait. You fooled Knuckles? Pff, that's cute. You really outdid yourself. Eggman finally sounds modest. You know, you kinda remind me of the little guys I used to rescue back home. Cute, scrappy, always getting into trouble. Guess no matter what universe I'm in, I'm still looking out for the little guys. You might burn bright, hot stuff, but I'm the wind that puts you out! Death may be inevitable, Hella. That doesn't mean you'll be the one to catch me. Life keeps going. It doesn't stop. Neither do I. That's what I admire, Cap. You make your own choices. Always. Ha! Nice try! But I've had my fill of knockoffs.
Next up is Tails. When redesigning him, I followed a similar approach to Sonic, adding realistic design details while incorporating elements of his movie design. I made his shoes much more tech-inspired to better align him with the rest of the Rivals cast, and give him extra bangs and goggles to emphasize that he's a young inventor. I also added some details to his gloves and socks, and added some extra blue in places because it just felt right. And there you have it. This is how I think Tails would look in the Rivals art style.
Even if things get tough, I'll do my best, no matter what!
Tails would have 275 HP, being a 3-star difficulty character. He primarily uses his arm cannon to attack. He shoots an energy ball at enemies, dealing damage per shot, or he can fire at his teammates to heal them for a larger amount. But it takes time to charge up each shot. Tails has 5 abilities. His Healing Bot. Tails can deploy a healing drone that flies around his teammates, healing them for a large amounts of HP every 2 seconds. However, the drone can be destroyed if a teammate takes too much damage. It takes 2 charges, and each charge takes 8 seconds to recharge. Dummy ring bombs. Tails throws a set of dummy ring bombs that can be placed anywhere. If enemies walk into them, they're stunned for a second. This is great for blocking enemy paths or helping teammates maximize damage. It has 2 charges and a 15-second cooldown. 2-Tail Dash. Tails can dash to any teammate on the map, offering both mobility and the ability to heal them faster. Think of it as a Mercy style ability from Overwatch. Glide. Tails can glide through the air by holding down the jump button, using his 2 tails to soar and get into strategic positions. And finally, Tails' ultimate ability is called Jet Set Tornado. When activated, Tails yells,
Tornado transform!
which summons his plane and flies around the map. While airborne, he gains overshield and can drop a massive amount of healing for his team or deploy dummy ring bombs to stun enemies. A Tails player should primarily focus on healing from a safe distance, but shouldn't hesitate to dash between teammates or to reach higher ground when needed. Tails would often be airborne, providing healing support to his team while dropping dummy ring bombs on enemies. With a bird's eye view of the battlefield, he can stay aware of the action and provide valuable support from above. And here are some of the character dialogue for Tails.
Whoa! Your armor's amazing! Speed, flights, and power? Do you think I could study your repulsor tech? I'd love to upgrade the tornado! You seem pretty smart, but you're so caught up in science you miss all the fun. Magic's got a whole different set of rules. If, you can figure them out. It's not just about blasting stuff, Rocket. Sometimes the right gadget makes all the difference. It's all about using what works best. I get it, Doctor. There's a lot I don't understand. But I'll keep learning, one step at a time. You can bend metal and generate magnetic fields. Do you know what that can do for tech? But power like that shouldn't have to scare people, right? Wow, Penny, you really know how to pilot that mech. I've got something similar. We should compare our tech sometime. I can't imagine being in charge of a whole kingdom. But you do it with such confidence. That's really inspiring. You went through all that, and you still found a way to rise above it. I used to be alone too. Until I met Sonic. Having someone believe in you, it changes everything. Balance sounds nice, but if nothing ever goes wrong, how do you know it's going exactly right? It's not about failing, it's about what we do with it. Wait, what? You look just like me! It must have been Eggman. But less creepy than his last one. Ugh.
Finally, we have Knuckles. Like the others, Knuckles is primarily inspired by his movie design, but I also incorporated elements from his boom design. He has a bulkier build and stands taller than the rest, with messier dreads to reflect his rugged nature. I also added tribal golden bands to his dreads that emphasize his connection to his heritage. For his shoes, I stuck with his movie design and added bandages around his legs and gave his gloves more seams while making his hands larger to emphasize the strength of his punches, since he'd be doing a lot of boxing. And here you have it, Knuckles in the Rivals art style. Personally, I'm really happy with how this one turned out.
Protecting the Master Emerald isn't just for anyone. I've become the strongest because of it.
Knuckles has 600 HP. While he may not be as large as the other tanks, he makes up for it with his incredible mobility and knockback. As a 4-star difficulty character, he's the most mobile tank in the game. His basic attack consists of a series of punches, dealing small amounts of damage with each hit. The more punches he lands, the greater the knockback effect on the enemies. Knuckles has 6 abilities. Grounded Knuckle. Knuckles slams into the ground, creating a shockwave that sends enemies flying in the opposite direction. It deals damage and has a 10-second cooldown. Drill Spin. Knuckles spins in the shape of a drill, pushing enemies away for crowd control. This attack does damage and also has a 10-second cooldown. Echidna Glide. Knuckles can glide through the air, and if he collides with an enemy while gliding, he can drag them away from the fight, disrupting their position. Echidna Climb. Knuckles can climb up walls, giving him a unique mobility option and the ability to reach higher ground or escape from danger. Dig Uppercut. Knuckles digs underground for 3 seconds. moving silently. When he emerges, he delivers a powerful uppercut that deals large damage. Knuckles' ultimate ability, the Flames of Disaster! When activated, Knuckles shouts,
Let's see what you've got!
and becomes surrounded by a red aura. This gives him full health, plus 150 overshield, and enhances the damage of his attacks while making him an unstoppable force for a short period of time. A Knuckles player should be all over the enemy front line, utilizing his mobility and knockback to keep enemies from both himself and his team. Many of his moves can knock back opponents and isolate other tanks. Similar to Thor, he also has excellent escape potential, much like Venom. However, Knuckles doesn't have a shield, so he must rely heavily on his movement, teammates, and ultimate ability to survive in battle. And finally, here is some character dialogue for Knuckles.
You're supposed to be the best at what you do? Good. I've trained to guard something eternal. You fight to survive. Let's test which one's stronger. They say no one can stop the Hulk. Good thing I'm not just anyone. You stay in control, and I'll stay on your side. I've dealt with spies before, and I don't make the same mistake twice. You stay out of my way, and I'll stay out of yours. Iron Fist, huh? Sounds tough, but I don't buy it. You want to impress me? Try hitting like it means something. They see strength and think it means destruction. But we know better. We both guard something sacred. Maybe that's why I feel like I've known you forever. You don't have to be alone to be strong. I spent a long time thinking I had to face it all alone. Then I met people who didn't try to fix me, just stood beside me. Glad you did too. You speak of yokai, Psylocke, but I can tell you this. The god of destruction is no demon. He's an ally in our darkest hours, haunted by a scarred past, yes, but not one of them. You lost your mind, and I lost my trust. Either way, someone else pulled the strings. You can't undo the past, but we're still here, still fighting. That's what matters. You don't talk much, but somehow you say more than most ever could. I've spent my whole life guarding what's gone. But you've moved forward. Maybe being the last isn't the end. Maybe it's the start of something new. We carry the same fists, but do we carry the same purpose? If you're anything like me, then you're not gonna back down either. So let's see which one of us kept the better instincts.
Marvel Rivals features a unique mechanic called team-ups, where 2 or more characters combine their powers to gain buffs or new abilities. Naturally, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles have their own team-up, obviously named Sonic Heroes. In this move, Knuckles can grab Sonic, Tails, or both and throw them like a fireball into the enemy team, dealing significant damage upon impact, based on how many characters are thrown. This ability has a 15-second cooldown. And that's all the ideas I've got for now. I could honestly keep going with this, because there are so many characters in Sonic's world with unique abilities and powers that it would take forever to cover them all in just one video. It's really fun to think about how different characters could fit in the hero shooters like this. For instance, I love to explore what Team Dark, Team Rose, or even Team Eggman will look in this style. Imagining their designs and how their abilities could translate into this genre is super exciting. And hey, just imagine if Sega ever made an official hero shooter set in the Sonic universe. How cool would that be? But I'd love to hear what y'all think. Do you feel like the abilities I gave Sonic and the gang fit well in the hero shooter genre? Who should I design next? Or do you have any other cool ideas for abilities for other characters, whether Sonic related or not? Oh, and before you go, I've got a Patreon now. If you want to get access to HD versions of my art assets I made for these videos, or even snag the cool looking doodle of your OC next to your name to appear at the end of videos like this, check it out. Or if you prefer to make a one-time donation, you can just do that over on my Ko-fi too. Thanks so much for watching. I really tried to be a bit more ambitious for this video compared to my other ones, so let me know what you think. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll catch you later. See ya!